It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Get in the van. We're going for another Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders, unfortunately, just in his studio and not on an afternoon drive, along with all of you guys. But how we doing, Alan?
Doing all right. Had a frustrating day, but glad to be here. You know,
that's why we're here. It
is one of the great things about doing this podcast is that no matter how bad my day is, it ends well, like 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm. And I will take a small piece of credit, but give most of that to Brandon Rossai and for the voiceover and just the great music in general that we have and the great audience that we have. But yeah, let's turn this day around from this point going forward. We're going to do something interesting on today's episode, Alan. We're going to do some quarter point of the season awards for the Steelers. So they've hit their bye. It's also, now that it's 17 games, it's not exactly a quarter, but pretty much a quarter of the NFL season for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We're not going to stop the Week 5 game 1 quarter in this, you know.
Time out. This is the quarter point. All right. So yeah, we're gonna go through that, doing MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year on both sides, a Most Improved Player, and you know what the heck? Let's just do a Coach of the Year as well on the staff, who we feel like is getting the most out of their unit. But actually, Alan, because I feel like this is gonna be quite time consuming, I want your answer on a question that we got here, and want to make sure that we get this one in today from my guy Cody. He DM'd me. I don't know if he tried DMing you or what happened there, because it's actually kind of more directed towards you. But he sent me the DM to have you answer this on the podcast and said, it's a pretty long DM, but I'll paraphrase here a little bit. So wasn't sure exactly when you got into covering sports, said maybe you've mentioned it in the past, but he's a newer watcher of the show and was just kind of curious how you've seen the transition take place from it going from print to now the multimedia side, how you got into the podcasting stuff, and if you enjoyed it more now with this being part of the day. Well, you just mentioned you look forward to this every day, so I guess that part's already been answered, but how you've kind of seen that transition take place and everything.
Yeah, so I have been writing mostly I would say full-time since about 2012, somewhere in there. Did some part-time stuff before that. Yeah, I mean, I was born on the internet. I was not like an old school print journalist. The first outlet I ever wrote for was a publication called Hockey's Future, which covers hockey prospects. I worked for a number of those kind of outlets. I did also work for newspapers. But I was always kind of a digital journalist first, but it was definitely all print for a long time. I mean, I would do like very occasionally, like you'd get asked to do a radio spot or you'd join a broadcast. When I was covering Robert Morris hockey, I'd like come in the second intermission and talk to Mike Pursuta and Tim Benz for 10 minutes or whatever. But it was very rare. Those were the exceptions. And now, I mean, it's become pretty much standard. Like, I don't know anybody that doesn't have a podcast. I don't know when really I felt that switch. I always felt like I wanted to do a podcast. I just didn't know how to make it work. I didn't have enough expertise in the technology of it and the sort of like what works and what doesn't part of it. And like, I also felt like I needed a partner. Alone, I just felt like I was talking into the void a lot. And like, I would do things, I would do like stand-up videos where I'd be on camera, started doing the final word. I think I was doing that before this, right?
Yes.
And so like, I was doing lots of things where I was on camera, but I never had a regular podcast until we did this. And I feel like right away, the thing that was different about this podcast was that the connection between me and Smitty, and then the audience really very quickly became a part of the show in a way where it did not feel like we were just talking into a screen, that there's two-way communication happening. And I feel like that was the thing that made it feel like, hey, this is working. I knew the idea for our show was good. I thought it would work, but I wasn't sure how it was going to go, if we were going to be able to find things to talk about every day, year round. If there was an audience year round, really just figuring it out as we go still to this point, trying to figure out what more we can do. Really enjoyed the night shift last night with Job.
Yeah.
I feel like that's becoming a good piece of the puzzle. And I do enjoy this. I also am just the kind of person that never knew what I wanted to do when I was growing up, and I've never been excited, even if I enjoyed what I was doing, about the prospect of, okay, here's your next 20 years. I always want to be doing something more, something different. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I was very frustrated by where I was professionally. I had moved up what I considered quite quickly to covering Pittsburgh Steelers. I never wanted to leave Pittsburgh. In my opinion, that's the top of the food chain in this media market. Doesn't get better than that. But then what? Was I just in for 30 years of doing the same thing? And I really feel like this has given me a different outlet for my thoughts that I really enjoy. And I really, really like it. It is most days my favorite part of my day.
I think what's just to like kind of give my 2 cents on this, as somebody that could 100% admit not very good at writing, and that's why I put my thoughts out there like this. I think it takes a special person to be able to convey their thoughts through writing and be able to say it as if they're speaking, be able to like read a tone through reading words as opposed to hearing it come from somebody's mouth. I think it takes a special talent that I don't have, and I might be telling you guys something you already know, but I like to talk quite a bit. So this is kind of a good outlet for me to be able to share my thoughts as well. And like Alan said, we're learning, more stuff about this every day and continue to grow. But if it was just Alan and I talking, I don't know how good this thing would have gone. So need you guys as an audience, and you guys have given us everything back and more from the time that we started this. So can't thank you guys enough. Appreciate the question and obviously the answer that it led to. So thanks, Cody. We appreciate that. But all right, let's get into some. I'm not gonna say superlatives here. Yeah, quarter season awards is what we want to do. We can just go back and forth, I guess. Make sure that we're not stealing each answers every step of the way. That actually happened to Tyler and I on yesterday's Penguins podcast. Literally, we were doing preseason predictions, and we had basically the same answer for every category besides one. So don't want that to happen again. So you and I will go back and forth on this. Make sure we're not stealing answers every single time. We got to end with MVP, I feel like. So I think the most interesting one here is Coach of the Year. Who do you feel like would be the Steelers Coach of the Year right now?
Arthur Smith, man. I feel like he's done a really nice job of bringing together an offense that doesn't have a lot of talent. What talent it does have is a lot of newness to it. You got a brand new right tackle, brand new left tackle, brand new quarterback, brand new wide receiver one. That's a very difficult transition. And I think he's done a really nice job. I don't really know what more you could want from Arthur Smith right now and the Steelers offense from a coaching standpoint. They are not a deep group with overwhelming talent, but they're getting the job done by and large.
Yeah, it's interesting, not to, stray your buy time for myself here to try to think of a different answer. But it is interesting. Weeks 1 and week 4, I think you can make the case for Arthur Smith's best 2 games as the OC of this team, taking into consideration last year even. And then 2 and 3 in between it. What do you think is the biggest reason that was the case though? Like what worked in week 1 and week 4 that just wasn't there in weeks 2 and 3? And honestly, week 4 being probably the best defense, or at least best coach defense they faced.
I don't know that it was that different. I mean, I think they've been pretty similar. They've been good in the red zone. They've been good in quick change. I think it's just the play of the offensive line. They're gonna rise and fall with that. It's not gonna be linear. I think they made some nice adjustments going into week 4. But it's really it.
I'll tell you who I'm not picking is anybody from the strength and conditioning staff. No, but okay, you know what? I'm going to go just to be a little different here because, to be honest, that probably would be the direction that I'd go. I'm going to go with Carl Dunbar for the work with Derek Harmon here early on. I feel like Daniel Ikuwale is also playing at a high level, and yes, he's a vet. But, even maybe Keanu Benton turning around here played really well in the last game. Hopefully that continues. He's got obviously a very talented group to work with. But the early returns on investment of Derek Harmon, that'll be my pick if I got to choose somebody else besides Artie.
I think it's a good choice. That unit had a lot of injuries early, a lot of moving parts, and I think it's come out of it pretty nicely so far.
Most improved, I will start for this one. This one's tough because I'm sitting here thinking, would they have had to have been on the Steelers last year to be considered most improved? I guess what is your thought on that?
Not a rookie, but they would have had to be in the NFL last year, but not on the Steelers.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, then I think I can still roll with my pick here. I'm gonna go, and maybe this is recency bias for the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna go with Brandon Eccles, who I really feel like is a really good player in this team, and very fortunate to have him as a CB4. He's way too good to be in that role. Yeah, I don't know, the versatility that he brings to the table as well. Made a bunch of big plays in that New England game to seal that victory. I'm gonna go with him. Give him a shout out.
How about most improved? I would say, man, that's tough. Eccles is a good answer. Jaylen Warren's a good answer.
I had a tough time between two names. If you don't pick this name, I'm going to bring it up real quick after you're done, as who my second thought was, but I don't want to steal who you were potentially going to say.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this. Go ahead, give yours.
The other one I thought about was Patrick Queen.
Yeah, that's
just because I think based off of the level of play last year, not that he was bad, but I just think that there was a level of expectation with the contract he got, and I think this year he's playing to that.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'll say Calvin Austin. Not that he was bad last year, but I think we have seen him take a step forward this year, do some things we haven't seen him do before. And man, I was rewatching some Calvin this morning to get ready for Morning Rush. That route on that touchdown against New England, man, like that's
the way I was with the rocker step thing that he hit on. Yeah, he almost turns his entire body to the side.
Nasty.
Yeah,
he has 2 touchdowns. He had 5 his whole career coming in. So I think there's
you just really hope this injury doesn't keep him out for too long and derail what was looking like a really, really nice season.
Exactly. Darnell Washington's a good answer too. I think he's looked like really started to become a force in the run game, and still not a big target guy, but is becoming really reliable in terms of their ability to I mean, his catch percentage is like.
Well, that's the big thing, I think, is you see what the very defined role of what it is for him. Like, hey, if we get inside the 10, let's at least throw him out on the boundary once and see who's going to follow him out there. He's either going to go up and get it, or he's going to draw a defensive pass interference, which obviously is valuable and has a role. So, yeah, I mean, I like that answer, to be honest, too. I just think it's not like as overwhelmingly obvious the level of improvement there, because he's not like a high volume pass catcher or anything like that. But it's just like steadily that Arrow has been pointing up for him. So this one, I don't know how you're gonna start for offensive rookie of the year here. I mean, I don't even know who else. How many rookies do they even have on the offensive side of the ball?
None.
Yeah, I mean, is Caleb Johnson the de facto has to be answer?
He is the only rookie, so
yeah, I was like, am I not thinking of somebody that's like an undrafted dude or something on that side of the ball? Yeah,
no.
so I guess
Will
there's our answer.
Howard, but I mean, he hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider? I guess it's a really bad situation where I think it is a legitimate question to ask if a guy who hasn't played is better or worse than Caleb Johnson has been. But I think you got to go with Caleb Johnson.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, that's easy. It has to be the pick for both of us. I mean, I feel like defensive rookie of the year as well could very well be the same thing, right? I mean,
I guess there are Y.A. Black,
there's
Jack Sawyer, Carson Bruner. There are at least other options there. But I mean, the difference has been impressive since Derek Harmon has returned from his injury.
Yeah, I don't want to overstate this because it's not just him, obviously, but I don't think it's a coincidence how much different they've looked up front once he got back into the fold. And I think it's not everything that he does individually, it's what he allows everybody else to do just with his presence. So you got one player back, but you got a handful of players that it impacts with him coming back into the fold.
None more than Keanu Benton. And I think Peyton Wilson too. I think both of those guys started to play better as soon as you got Harmon in there.
We'll stick on the defensive side for this one. Defensive player of the year so far.
I would say this could be controversial. Cam Hayward.
Okay.
I mean, not that TJ has been bad, and you could certainly argue for Nick Herbig or Jalen Ramsey. I wouldn't really argue against either of those. I think Cam's been really good. And especially when they were having a hard time standing up against the run, Cam was the one guy that was really doing it at a high level. I think he's tipped like 3 interceptions this year.
Yeah, might fly under the radar. Yeah.
I'm going with Cam.
Man. This is a good problem to have that I have like 3 guys that aren't Cam Hayward in my head right now that I feel like I could make a case for. Although the one is more so he's only played in half of their games, but I feel like you just can tell how important he is. So I'm not going to pick him, but let me just mention him real quick. The name that I was thinking of was Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with TJ. I know it's the boring pick. I just think he'll find ways to make splash plays even if he's not getting home on the quarterback. He's always around the football. I don't think it's by chance. I don't think it's luck like people talk about. You do it year after year. There's just guys that have a knack for doing it, and he has a knack for doing it. His get off has continued to get just a tick slower 4 straight years, and it hasn't mattered in terms of his impact on plays. So I'll go with TJ. Man, I wanted to go with Deshaun. Couldn't pull the trigger on it. All right, offensive player of the year. Ooh. Can I just pick the running backs? No, I'm not going to do that. I'll go with DK. And the reason that I'll go with DK is because I think he is so unique in the way that he creates explosive plays, and that it's not about him stretching the field vertically and getting him that way. It's when he converts from a receiver to a running back, the yak that he brings to the table. And if you didn't have this specific skill set with the lack of depth on target that they have, you wouldn't be getting the explosive plays that they are able to create within this offense. He's kind of a necessity for this, the way that this passing attack works, for them to be able to create any explosives.
That's a good answer. I think Aaron Rodgers. I think there's been a noticeable difference in the way the offense works with him in there. It's not necessarily all about his arm. Certainly isn't about his legs. But I think the way he commands the huddle, what he's able to do with the line of scrimmage in terms of getting them in the right play, and just the sort of overall attitude, mindset, way the offense feels is noticeably improved with Aaron Rodgers in the huddle. And I think that's a big deal.
I mean, I feel like the inverse of what we talk about with the defense, like when we talk about the defense, it's like, hey, the yards don't matter. Keep them off the scoreboard or we're going to take the football away. With the offense, it's like, hey, we get into the red zone, we're scoring every single time pretty much with this offense right now. And you look at the personnel, I'm not saying it's, the same or anything like that, but I feel like he is the biggest reason for the way it has been to where it's at right now, with why they're so good in the red zone. So yeah, that's a good pick. That's actually why I would say that I went with him as my MVP as opposed to my offensive player.
See, okay, I like what you did there.
Yeah.
That is interesting how like the votes for those get split sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, the MVP has to be either the offense or defensive player of the year. I don't know how it's not. But
yeah. No, I mean,
have
I guess I was looking at it too much like, hey,
I
this
guess,
is back when
I guess your circumstance kind of works because like Rodgers has been really valuable beyond his production. And that's kind of what MVP is trying to capture.
Yeah.
But
because I mean, if you just look at like the baseline stats, like it's not like anything super, although the touchdown percentage at 7.4 right now, third highest of his career. And the other 3 times within the top 4, he's won NFL MVP. I'm not saying he's winning an NFL MVP this year, but he's winning Smitty's MVP of the quarter point of the season.
Smitty's quarter season MVP.
Which one's more important, Aaron?
This one. Yeah, I think he's got mine too. I think he's been the most important player on the team. And that's what you need your quarterback to be most of the time. I don't think the Steelers needed him to be, but I just think it's been such a noticeable difference for me. And I don't think like TJ and Cam's been really good. TJ's been really good. Ramsey's been really good. But like for me, the difference is we've known that about those guys, and you put Aaron in a different situation, and it was very much up in the air what the Steelers were going to get out of Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's really exceeded expectations.
Especially when like the offensive line, I feel like has started to come into their own in terms of the run blocking. Hopefully that was like them turning the page this game against the Vikings, and actually somebody has a question about that. We'll see if we can get to that. But in terms of the pass protection, it's not like that is like leaps and bounds better than we expected it to be. He's still getting rid of the ball very quick and everything like that. So like that was a big question, is if that does break down, if they aren't very good in pass protection, is this a guy that can survive, and what's he going to play like? I'm not saying, he's setting the world on fire right now, but he is doing the job behind an offensive line that's not been, even good, I would say, in pass protection.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this out there to you. This probably won't be surprising to you, and I feel like I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm still going to throw it your way and get your thought on it real quick, because I was doing some research yesterday. DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren, Kenny Gainwell have accounted for 67% of the Steelers' yards and 7 of their 11 touchdowns. That's all that tweet said, but to follow up on that, do you think that that's an issue for them? Like there's not enough contributors within this team right now, or is this like basically exactly what you expected anyways?
I mean, no, I thought the tight ends would be more involved. And I still don't really understand why they haven't been. And I think they're really good at tight end. And I think they got to figure that out. If you look at the offense, I think that's one area where it's like they don't have a lot of talent, but they got talent at tight end, and their inability to find a way to use it so far has been strange.
They're only in front of, and this is an interesting stat, and this is thrown my way by somebody on Twitter in response to that tweet. Their name is just Happy Days, so I can't give them a proper shout out. But they are 30th out of 32 in receiving yards if you exclude the top wide receiver. So take DK Metcalf out of the picture.
I think they're also right
100...
there in air yards as well. So if you take away the yak, they're right down there as well.
So if you take away DK Metcalf's, they have 178 receiving yards by everybody else, and Calvin Austin has 139 of those. So if you take him out of the equation as well, then they have 30. I'm sorry, wait. Oh, this is just for the receiver room, not including tight ends. So just receivers, they are 30th out of 32, only in front of the Jets and the Cardinals, which is actually by a pretty large margin that they're in front of them. But anyways, yeah, I'm like you. I definitely expected more production from the tight end room, and hopefully coming out of the bye, we do see some of that. I mentioned the offensive line briefly within that, and Rocco had a question about it. Said, unrelated here, people seem to believe the offensive tackles have rebounded and are now playing well. I don't think that they are. Jones has people in his chest constantly. It's the same old stuff. His head is dipping, losing way more often than an average starting left tackle should. I'd still see a weak punch. Troy has more skill, but it hasn't been pretty thus far. The coaches have just accepted things and tweaked the offense around their weaknesses correctly. Doesn't mean the offensive tackles aren't improving in pass. Oh, doesn't mean the offensive tackles are improving in pass pro. 2.17 seconds to throw is an insane number, and don't believe that that's sustainable. I think the run game stuff has gotten a little bit better, but that's always the case a few games into the season. Whether it's Meyer or poor scouting, can't say, but the young day one, day two offensive linemen haven't been good. The foundation has cracks.
Well, they haven't been good. I don't think any reasonable expectation was for them to be good at this point. If they're good in December, that'll be ahead of the curve. I mean, young offensive linemen, especially young tackles, are almost always bad, even ones that turn out to be very good. So you should not expect them to be good ever. And I didn't. They haven't been. They've gotten better in run. I thought they would be able to run block, and they have maybe turned a corner there. They certainly were better in week 4. We'll see. But I think there's a long way to go for that group before you call this draft rebuild a success. And even, I mean, I don't know, maybe I want your take on this. Like, we talked a lot about the quarterbacks in the 26 draft class we have. It's all seemingly like all half the fan base wants to talk about. Every time we're on night shift, it gets brought up. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we're there yet in terms of feeling ready to add a young quarterback to this group with Aaron Rodgers throwing. Like, you're not going to get a young quarterback that's able to throw in 2.7 whatever seconds.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I brought this up this offseason. Like, before we played a game, I said, what happens if by the end of the year? Now, this is, after 4 games that we're talking about this, but if you don't see that progression from Broderick Jones to feel comfortable enough to drop a young quarterback into the situation, does that change their draft plans? Because it does seem like they've been locked in on quarterback. I still feel like they're going to take that swing, and what I think it ultimately leads to is them maybe overpaying a tackle that's not very good in free agency, or starting one that probably shouldn't be starting right away if things do go incredibly south with Broderick. That's what I'm saying here. In this situation, they could end up being on the wrong side of like that Jalen Moore contract, or I don't know that there's even a Dan Moore level tackle that will be available next offseason, but if there is, they could do something like that and be on the receiving end of that. So, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's still locked in on quarterback in round 1. I think it'd be fair to be concerned about the situation for that quarterback if we don't see, this offensive line take a leap in pass pro.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll get better. I do. I don't think there's any reason to have any concern, really. But it is definitely unsettled as to how it's going to be in the future.
That new thing that popped up on my timeline yesterday, like total EPA grouped by run gaps for each NFL team?
Yeah,
I saw that graphic. I don't know what you made of it. They actually the most successful running outside of Broderick outside of the left tackle. Positive EPA also going between Broderick and Isaac, in between Frazier and McCormick. However, negative EPA in 3 different directions as well, going between Frazier and Sayamalo, between McCormick and Faetanu, and then they're the worst going outside of the right tackle, Faetanu.
Little surprised at that. I mean, I would think that in general they're going to be a better outside running team than inside running team. Not only is that Arthur Smith's offense, but look at the running backs. I mean, you just like, I mean, Kenny Gainwell and Jalen Warren are not between the tackles bruisers, and so I think that makes sense. A little surprised it's as lopsided left to right, and not to say that I think Faetanu has been bad. I would have just thought those guys would be more even, but I'm not surprised that they found good run blocking. I know that they were they have the talent to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
it's also this isn't taking consideration like where they lining Darnell up at when he's on the field, right? So like we don't know based off that which side he's on. They're not showing him on this graph, or even in the case like we were just talking about how much they used Spence as the jumbo tight end on Sunday and stuff like that. So I'd be more interested in seeing the success rates in every gap from Sunday specifically, just because we saw those two on the field so much.
Yeah. I mean, he's another offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. But all right, that's actually pretty good information. Good stuff. Good questions as always. Keep those coming in the comments. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, we got DB on here. We'll see who the group is on here, but Alan will be with Julianne for Palouse Pick'ems here shortly. Alan, other than on there, tell people they can find you.
Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now site's account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus, like our 2 newest shout-outs. We got to add to the group, add to the banner today, Smitty, Mark Primavera and Mark with a C, Swagger, SWOGGER.
Oh, so Mark and Mark.
Mark and Mark, but Mark with a K, Primavera. Mark with a C, Swagger. And one from Ohio and one from New York. So there you go.
Okay.
And you can sign up for SN Plus. It's cheap, about less than $5 a month. It gets you access to all the best content from me, DB, and the rest of the Steelers Now team over there. Access to our subs-only live stream here on the YouTube channel. It gets you an ad-free reading experience on all the articles at SteelersNow.com. And it helps us go cool places, bring you awesome content. And we really, really love and appreciate our subscribers. And they are the reason that we are able to do awesome and fun things. And anyone can like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel. That helps us grow this show and all the rest of our shows to a bigger and bigger audience. And you guys have been doing that. We crossed that big round number yesterday. And now, hopefully, we will be able to play a little game here with 16,800 and Mark Royals.
Who's that?
Mark Royals is a punter in like 93-ish.
Okay.
I think he was only here for a couple of years.
Well, I was also going to go with the punter, Brad Wing. I think a lot of people thought maybe I'd go Jeff Reed. I think I've used Landry Jones when we've been on 3 in the past. Corliss Waitman currently.
Mark Royals has one of the great punter auras of all time. We gotta here for those of you on the YouTube platform here, I just gotta show you the Mark Royals headshot from about 93. Look, I mean, just look at the flow, the mullet.
He kind of looks like, I don't know who the actor is, but the one of the dudes that's always in Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, he or like
I can't think of what the actor's name is, but
he could totally be the bad guy in like an episode of Magnum PI. He's got it all going on. Mark Royals, Steelers punter. So
I did not know who Mark Royals was prior to this. I am never going to forget Mark Royals.
You were not familiar with his game.
I was not. Man, that's my type of player right there. He should. I don't know how old is he? Like probably in his 50s. at this
Yeah,
point?
I would assume. Yeah, I mean he was here, like you said, the early
can still play.
'90s.
He could still play.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of another three. It's not a number with a lot. Chris Brown was the kicker before,
Ooh,
and of course Jeff Reed, back to
a
back
lot of specialists.
number
Yeah.
threes.
Mhm.
Russ last year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to
I can't think of another one.
get the crowd upset.
Currently Corliss Waitman.
Yeah. Maury Bray,
Can't say I'm
Bill
familiar with
Dudley, Matt McCrane.
Bill Dudley wore like 35 or 40 something for most of his career, I think.
Yeah, it actually says 0 games played with. Why does this happen on here sometimes? 1942, it has it listed, but then says 0 games. Ron, but ROHN Stark.
That's another specialist. I think he was also a punter. He was with the Colts for most of his career. There was like years in there was like Royals, Stark. There was another guy where there was like this Dan Straczynski was in there where they were just like we're going through punters like every couple of years, and then they got Josh Miller, and he was a punter for a while.
But Stark was like a 4-time Pro Bowler and an All Pro. Just the Steelers got him well after
way
that.
at the end of his career, yeah.
And didn't go the same in his one season. Actually, the lowest yards per punt happened with the Steelers. So didn't get the best out of Ron Stark. Anyways, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, add to that growing number. The march to 17,000 continues. How great would it be if we just had like this massive boom and we hit 17K before we came out of the bye? Let's do it. What do you guys say? Tell a friend to tell a friend. Come like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here. If you're listening somewhere else,
we can
Apple,
see
Spotify.
how many of you are not subscribing when we look at our analytics, and it's a lot of you. So
and it actually says your first name, your last name, your address, your social security,
your mother's maiden name.
Yeah.
You're the locker combination to your high school locker. We got it all.
First pet's name. I'm trying to think of like those security questions at this point. But anyways, do that for us. Like and leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you're listening somewhere else. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. We are there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, Fallon Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.